The question few times we get when proposing a custom-built internal chatbot for SharePoint files specifically is what's the difference between the search bar we have in our SharePoint? And then the other one, of course, is what's the difference between Copilot, but we're not going to cover it in this video. I have multiple videos about that one. But to answer the first question, it's pretty obvious one. It doesn't give answers to questions. But one thing is hearing that, the other one is seeing it. So that's what we're doing today. And this video is for all of you out there who wants to see what's the deal. Before we start, don't get me wrong, the SharePoint search bar is pretty helpful for some basic search. And maybe for some of you out there, this works just fine if you don't have to retrieve any specific information from the file itself. But you're gonna see all that. I'm gonna pull up really quickly the internal chatbot, which we're gonna test, and then we're gonna put it side to side like this with our SharePoint. This is our SharePoint. And just like always, we're gonna test all of the file types. We have Excels, PDFs, presentations, scanned documents, technical drawings, photos, videos, and I think that's actually it. So why don't we start with the first one, which is Excels, and let's ask a question about what is the price for the phones and how much do we have it in our inventory. Let's put in our chatbot, let's put it into SharePoint search bar and look at this. The first question, it doesn't even give us answer. But now I believe if we adjust a little bit the question, because in the search bar you have to actually search, not ask. Obviously, probably. We go phones, we start to see something like this maybe, still didn't give us. If we search only for inventory maybe, yeah, then it finds the Excel file we're inside. Well, let me show you actually on our chatbot that if you click a page, you can actually get thrown to the Excel sheet. We can see its phones are 25 and it's 600. Exactly how set. So in this case, the SharePoint search bar found only the file, and after we adjusted completely our question to only a single word, which is inventory. But next question, let's move on to the PDFs. Let's put in the next question, which is what are the standard rules for vacation time? Let's put in the chatbot, let's put it also here, and look at this. Now it actually pointed us to the correct PDF file, and we can see on our side like the chatbot gave us the answer about the vacation rules, 11 total, and give actually the page. But the search bar in this situation did a little bit better and it gave the correct file. If you look, it's the page 16, and if you go to page 16, we can actually see them here. And I'm curious actually to try another question, which was from that same PDF, just to see if that it wasn't some accident or some glitch. And let's now ask the question about what's the correct coffee lid placement, and yeah, now it's again gives the PDF. So it's interesting, it doesn't give any snippet of the information. Now I was actually possible to find so that it gives these little snippets. It also gives this folder link, which is also same we have for our chatbot, just like this. But the snippet seems to be somewhere from the first pages because it talks about our philosophy, not about the standard rules. So it doesn't do that. And if we click on it, I believe it will not throw us to the specific page. Wait, did it actually throw us to the specific page, or I was just on that page from the previous looking? Let me check again. If I click, yeah, it doesn't do that. It just, you see, if I would be on the 9th page, let me close it. Let me ask again the question. Let's now click. You see, it's on the 9th page. So, but for the moment, I actually thought that it could link to the PDF page. If it would already do it better than Copilot, because even Copilot couldn't do that. But it was close. It got me for a second, for a few seconds. Maybe. But now let's try if it does the same with the presentations. Let's send in a question about the US AI patent champions. Let's pull up the question, and no, seems like it will not be able to pull us a presentation. But seems like presentations, well, if we delete a little bit and change the question, yeah, now it does actually. Same with PDFs, but we did have to adjust the question. If we click on search, it pulls up the correct file, which is this one. And then also same for the presentation, that it also shows the snippet, but of course that's only from somewhere from the first pages, so it's not even showing the right slide. If you click on it, yeah, it also throws to the first slide. So that means it can find you PDFs and it can find you also presentations. So now it's holding, it is trying its best, but the next one would be an interesting one. We're gonna ask something from a scanned document, which is a bit different than regular PDF. Doesn't find anything, and our chatbot also didn't find anything. So maybe we don't have it actually in our SharePoint. Yeah, but we have another kind of, I don't know, it's not kind of scanned document, it's technical drawing. So for scan documents, I forgot to put a scan document in SharePoint. Sorry for that, my bad. But let's try something which is a technical drawing. Let's put it first in our chatbot. Let's say, what are the notes for liquid mixer? And then put the same also for the search bar. Our chatbot comes back with the notes. Let's now again adjust a little bit the search. Yeah, and now it doesn't answer us. So it probably wouldn't also answer a question from a technical drawing. If you look at the page, and we can see the 3 notes here, our chatbot gave, and it also gave little additional ones. Maybe if we put only liquid mixer, no, it also doesn't search. We have the file name here, and obviously if we're going to search by the file name, it's going to find us. But seems like scan document, like for all of the tools out there, is a limitation. But the next one is images, and let's say for the chatbot, so it gives us Berlin site photos. It came also back Berlin site photos. Let's adjust the search again, and now it does. And also the chatbot was able to retrieve these images because we have the name of Berlin site. So both in these cases search by the file name, so that's a plus. And I mean, one thing you could like test is how much the search bar retrieves images against the chatbot. And what I mean by that is, for example, if we would have like 50 Berlin site images, it would show us all the 50 images. But the chatbot goes by the principle that it just shows what it thinks it's relevant. And it's usually maximum 25 sources to not kind of overwhelm the user. But now this leads us already to the last test topic, which is videos. So let's try it. Let's try a few questions. Because we had few videos, we have few meetings. Let's say what oil was needed for roots blower. Put into SharePoint. If we search, it doesn't give anything. Let's adjust for roots blower. Yes, now it does answer us question. It looks like it only got the word D. So maybe oil roots blower like this. Yeah, now it comes up with oil filter. Maybe only roots blower, and it doesn't give us anything. There should be some keyword of roots blower, because otherwise our chatbot wouldn't be able to give us the answer. If we actually check, and it will actually pretty cool throw us to the specific timestamp. We hear a little bit.
This just takes regular SAE 30 weight oil.
Exactly, and yeah, there is roots blower, but search bar wasn't able to find it, but it was able to find the video, which is still better than Copilot and these other tools out there, which even cannot do that. But the snippet isn't right. It doesn't like point you actually to the video. This video is 22 minutes, so obviously you would have to watch it, or in the transcript search, obviously you could then again search for those keywords, but like that's just double work. If we check for roots blower, then we can see it here. But that's actually all. That's actually all. We went through all categories except for scan documents, but technical drawings count as scan documents. And I mean, here you have it. That's the difference between the SharePoint search bar and the internal chatbot, that it just doesn't give answers. It gives snippets, but also not to the right topic you're giving it. Just basically searches for the keywords. You still have to look into files, you have to open the pages, you have to search, not like with the chatbot where it just gives you a link to the specific page or presentation slide or video timestamps. And obviously then there are a lot of custom things you can add to the internal chatbot, which can basically even upload files for you. You just give it a file and it will decide where he wants to put it. But there's also a video there, you can check it out. Then also, if you're thinking about Copilot, please think twice. I've done also extensive video comparing this internal chatbot, same way like I did here, against Copilot. And even Copilot doesn't do some of the things search bar does here. I mean, Copilot does give answers, right? But it doesn't give answers from videos. It doesn't also point to specific PDF pages. It actually also, when you click on the link, it like downloads some PDF for you. So, I mean, it's also not that good. So please think twice. It's another story if you're using Copilot for some kind of documents or these presentations. I think even there are some like Claude can do these presentations better, or Excels. So yeah, and then the per user seat cost, which is also not the case for chatbot. For the chatbot, you only pay for the usage. But now it's just up for you to decide which one you want to go with. If you're a SharePoint files user and you're also SharePoint search bar user, then you might want to look into something like this yourself, Internal Chatbot, which now is in Teams, but you can just also have it in your SharePoint, just as the search bar. So it's pretty good. You can have it as a private website. And if you do want to look into something like this, then we can, of course, help you with that. And you can also check out the testimonial video with IMA Engineering, company from Finland who also use SharePoint, and they are pretty happy now with the internal chatbot they have. And I think that's a wrap for me. Take care, everybody.